Whenever someone asks me what is my best AWS service, I always answer identity and access management. You might ask why. I am into security, and in my humble opinion, AWS Identity and Access Management is in the heart of AWS security. So if you only remember one AWS service, make it Identity and Access Management for sure. It's not the flashiest service, but it's the one guarding literally everything else. Just think about it. Every S3 bucket, every database, every server, and today I'll explain what it is, break down its core pieces, and then jump into the console and actually use it. And here is why I obsess over this. Gartner says that 99% of cloud security failures are the customer's fault and not AWS's. And I 100% agree with him. And it almost always comes down to misconfigured access. And Capital One in 2019 is the textbook example. One over permissioned role, no exotic hack required. And I will say it directly. Identity and access management is the difference between a secure account and a headline in an article or a journal, because of a breach, of course. You need to think of identity and access management as AWS's bouncer or security guard. Before literally any action happens, whether reading a file, launching a server, identity and access management asks two very important questions. Who are you? In other words, authentication. And what are you allowed to do? In other words, authorization. And another very important thing that often appears in exams, the default in AWS is deny. Nothing is allowed until a policy explicitly says yes. That single fact is why identity and access management is called deny by default. 4 building blocks in identity and access management, and these run everything. They run the whole system. First, we have users, an individual login like you or a teammate. We have groups, which is a labeled bucket of users, a group of users who all need the same access. For example, developers will have certain access, while security professionals will have other access to other stuff. Then we have roles, a temporary badge, anything can borrow. So the keyword here is no permanent keys. And lastly, we have policies, which is the actual JSON rulebook that says what's allowed. And something important we need to say here is that policies are the one artifact that actually defines permissions, while users and groups and roles are just who the policy applies to. We will now tackle the request evaluation flow. When a request comes in, AWS runs through logic. Is there an explicit deny anywhere? If yes, stop. Denied, full stop. Nothing overrides an explicit deny. If no deny, is there an explicit allow? So we move here. Is there an explicit allow? If yes, the action proceeds. If neither an explicit deny or explicit allow exist, still denied. Why? Because the default is always deny, as we said before. In identity and access management, this is the distinction I see people get wrong most. Users have long-term credentials, great for human login in one day morning, while roles are temporary, assumed in demand, on demand, and expire automatically. Perfect for an app, Lambda function, or an EC2 instance. So the rule of thumb is if a human logs in, use a user. If a service needs access, use a role. Long-lived access keys are the number one thing that leaks in GitHub repos, and you can go and check it. Roles avoid that problem entirely. Now discuss identity and access management best practices. So first we have list privilege. Only what's needed, nothing extra, very simple. Then we have multi-factor authentication. You need to turn on multi-factor authentication, especially on root and admin identities or other privileged users. Then we have roles over keys. Avoid long-lived credentials wherever possible. And lastly, we have rotate and audit. Use identity and access management access analyzer, credential report to clean up unused access. Remember that most breaches aren't caused by attackers breaking encryption. They are caused by permissions nobody remembered to remove. We talked about this earlier. Finally, we get to our practical section and we will see everything live in a console demo from zero access to least privilege. So I just created a new account and I gave it admin privileges just for the purposes of making these videos, and I will delete it after this video. Now, if you can see here, you can see that we can click anything. There are no red signs, there is nothing. And later you will see something very awesome. So you will notice it yourself. So let us create a new user that doesn't have any policies, a bare user. So we will search for identity and access management. We'll click on identity and access management. As you can see here, root user has multi-factor authentication, gives you some security recommendations, but this user doesn't have multi-factor authentication because I didn't set it. I already gave it admin privileges using a group, so you can see here that he has already some policies, roles, etc. Now we will go to identity and access management users because we want to create a new user. We will click on create user right here, and we will give a name for our user. We will just name it demo user. We will give it access to AWS management console, of course. The password will be a very simple password. I will show it for you. Password 1, 2, 3, 4. Never do this, of course. I will be deleting this account in just a minute after I finish the video. You can check this if you want the user to change his password after he logs in with the password you provide him. So I will remove this. We will do, as you can see here, it didn't allow me to use this. So we will make it a bit more complicated. So we will do password 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a bit more complicated, but not really. So we'll do next. It works right now. We will not add it to our admin. We will leave it with its per default policies, etc. We will do just next, and we will create our user. So here we have our user, and next we will log in to this user and we will see the difference in privileges from our admin user. So we have logged in to our new user, and if you scroll down, you can see that we have a lot of access denied right here. We will try to access the S3 bucket service, and we go to our S3, and we want to see if we have any buckets. We will do create bucket real quick and go back to buckets. I have multiple buckets, but since we don't have permissions to see them, it is automatically not allowing us to see them. So it is a straightforward deny by default. Deny by default in action. So we confirmed right here that our user doesn't have any access and he can't even see the S3 buckets that we have. Next, we will go back to our admin user. So in our admin user that I created, I showed you this before, we will go to identity and access management, and we want to give our user a list privilege access to viewing S3 buckets. we will show our identity and access management user. We will go to our demo user that has no access. We will add a permission, and we will not add him to a group. The best practice is to add to a group and then give permissions to that group. But we will attach, for demonstration purposes, a policy directly. Its name is Amazon S3 read-only access. We can open it and see it real quick. So in the JSON view right here, you can see the effect is allow action S3. It is all about S3 and the resources, everything. So he can view the S3 buckets like this. So we will select it, we will do next, and we will add permissions. So it is now added to our demo user. So once we attach that policy to our demo user, now we went back to the same page and we did not refresh it yet. You can see that it shows that no permission to list buckets. So now if we refresh, you can see that there is a difference right now. It shows us our buckets. And as you can see, one attached policy is the entire difference between denied and allowed. So now back to our admin demonstration account, because we can't access roles in the other account because we gave him permission only to view 3 buckets, so he can't do anything else. He can't even access the identity and access management dashboard right here. So if we go to roles and we pick any role, to be honest, this one for example, you can see a very interesting thing right here is that there is no password, no access key, just a trust policy defining who can assume it and handing out short-lived credentials automatically. So this is why it is good to use roles for services. So to recap, identity and access management denies by default, allows explicitly, refers roles to keys, and rewards least privilege. So you need to get comfortable with this one service, and you've covered the foundation of almost every AWS security best practice. If this helped, subscribe, like, comment, and all of that stuff. And seriously, go check whether multi-factor authentication is on for your root account right now.